What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and we have very small, mostly in the form of art updates in relation to the expanded, or the D&D Rules Expansion gift set. This new thing that's coming out in the end of January that's going to have the reprints of Tasha's Cauldron, Xanathar's Guide, and then as well as this new Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse. Some of this comes to us through Amazon, a bunch of this comes through social media updates from Wizards of the Coast, but I thought we could take a quick look. This shouldn't be too long of a video. I know I'm saying that and it's me, so bear with me here, but let's go ahead and take a look. So we'll start with Amazon. So if we go ahead and pull up the images, this we've seen before. This is sort of the box set, but I did notice there was this cat on the front, which I didn't notice before, and there's some sort of arcane something happening in the background there. But this one that shows off the new DM screen, now we actually do get the to see the rest of the screen as well in the form of a banner on Twitter. But we can see there is a white dragon here as well as some orcs, and there's actually an adventuring party on the other side. We don't really get a great look at what's inside the screen itself. We can see it looks like conditions is still possibly taking up 1 to 2 panels. We can see some other things, tracking DCs, travel pace, and so on. One more good look at the other side of the box set, showing off that white dragon yet again. And again, this is the Monsters of the Multiverse cover with Mordenkainen premiere on the front here. Now, this text we see here, I believe we've seen in full before. This was sort of the early preview text, but if we scroll down, and here again, here's more images of it. I don't recall this full-blown text here. Now, maybe it did exist and I'm just remembering it and not remembering it. But if we take a look, we do have a little bit more peek into what we're going to see here. So, right, complete updates of over 250 monsters and NPCs that originally appeared in Volo's Guide to Monsters and Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, each represented by a newly designed stat block and story text. Now, originally, when we had seen this, it was going to be a compilation. I was under the impression, personally, that this was going to grab Volo's Guide, Mordenkainen's, and then anything that existed in a campaign guide. Because if you're unfamiliar, there are still some, sorry, I said a campaign guide. Well, a campaign guide to an extent, yes, as well as different adventures, right? Because you might have something like a Ravnica or Van Richten's Guide, or even, probably not at this day and age, but something like a Princess of the Apocalypse, for example, right? They have monsters in them. Now, some of those have been compiled into things like Volo's Guide or Mordenkainen's, but there are still some out there that exist only in, say, Tomb of Annihilation. You might have a monster in there that doesn't exist in any other book, versus, again, other campaign settings like Wildmount or Ravnica or Theros. So I thought the compilation was going to kind of be primarily Volo's and Mordenkainen's, but then also it would cherry pick from those other ones and pull them in. Reading this, it sounds like it is purely just reprints of Volo's Guide and Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. It says, originally appeared in Volo's and Mordenkainen's, each represented by a newly designed stat block and story text. Now, again, what the stat blocks will be, I think we've seen a little bit of this in, early promo stuff from Wizards of the Coast, but it will be stuff that will be updated to be in line with the new sort of power balance that they have for 5th edition. That'll be part of it. The other one will be the changing of some things, removing of erroneous text and things that aren't there, and then updating stuff to have the stat blocks kind of be the way they want them to be as far as spell casting and things goes. But it also says story text. So I'm curious to see if we have something. Now, is this purely based on the new adjustments we've seen kind of to the lore of 5th edition, where they will be removing things, references to older edition stuff, or these kind of alignment changes? Or if I were to pick up, I don't know, Volo's Guide and it has information on a Nilbog in it, for example, is the Nilbog text in Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse the same as in Volo's Guide? Is it completely new? Does it override the previous text? Or is this an expansion in addition to it? In my head, I would say an expansion, because this is literally called the Rules Expansion, but I don't know. And then it goes on to say, again, updated monster stat blocks. Creature stat blocks have been reorganized to be easier for DMs to use, and some creatures have been updated, doing more damage and having greater resilience. That's kind of what we were just talking about. Additional lore and art. Book contains colorful art of monsters that were previously unillustrated and expands upon monster lore with details that add depth to your creatures no matter where you choose to unleash them. So I guess I answered my own question by reading ahead. It does sound like it might be, it says new story text, so I guess this might not necessarily just be overriding the original text. It might be the original text plus new stuff. And it's always nice to see new illustrations for monsters that previously did not have them, which is always nice to help visualize things. And I don't really know if there's going to be a lot of like fluff text in here. At least I don't see that with this 250 stat blocks plus the playable races plus including more text and art. I imagine this is pretty much going to be what I've kind of wanted, which is just a compendium of things for DMs, and it's just a big monster encyclopedia, which is awesome. At least that's what I hope it will be. We'll see in January. And then lastly here, right, over 30 playable races presents over 30 race options for player characters that don't appear in the PHB, all updated and gathered together in one place for the first time. Again, jury is still out on what that means exactly because, again, there is several different things like various campaign guides, things like Theros, Ravnica, even more recent stuff like Van Richten's guide. What about the updates that were dropped in Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, which just came out? What about things like, it says that, don't appear in the player's handbook, but Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes introduced us to Tiefling variants. I don't know. I'm curious to see what it is, and then I figured we would... The rest of this just kind of talks about Tasha's Cauldron and Xanathar's Guide, nothing too crazy there. Here's a little bit more of what you'll see on the DM screen and kind of what we saw on the one side of the box with these two characters with this sort of... Oh, it was a spell book and the cat here, which must be the familiar. And then it just has a little bit about playing Dungeons and Dragons. If we were to click on Wizards of the Coast's Twitter account, we can see some art that they've shown here. Here is Eladrin art showing all the different seasonal Eladrin. And I remember this specific art, but I don't know if we actually had originally art for all 4 Eladrin seasons. We have, again, Nilbog art. I believe this is just a reprint of that. I don't recall seeing this Starspawn Seer art before. This looks new to me, but here we have some more art. We'll just skip over that. This, again, Rules Expansion gift set art showing this sort of, I guess, gnome, perhaps, consulting with some sort of arcane eye or some sort of other, big, I don't know, crystal ball style thing. We have whatever this looks like, some sort of Dwergar creature here. This art looks new to me. And then there's this reference here, looking to make a new cleric for your party. Try a centaur for disease control, it says. Which makes me feel like centaurs will be printed as one of the playable races, which means that centaurs, which were originally found in Ravnica, will be pulled in. Does that mean other things that were specific to the settings, like Vidalkin and Loxodon and things of that nature, will they be pulled into this Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse? I tend to think so. It's just, they said, and I believe it says, does it say 30 or over 30? It says over 30. Now, is over 30 31? Is it 32? What's the cutoff, do you think, where we start when we say over 30? Could it just be that some of those are variants of other things, so that's how we get over 30? I don't know. And lastly, the banner along the top of the Wizards of the Coast Twitter page is this, which, from what we've seen, you can kind of see the white dragon over here. This is what I believe, this full page here with all of these characters, including that white dragon, is the art that will be on the DM screen that comes with the set. Again, I hope that it's a little bit of an improvement over the existing DM screens, but, when you still have 2 panels, at least seems like dedicated fully to just covering the conditions found in the back of the player's handbook, I question that every time. So there you go, folks. That is just a quick, and by quick, it's Ted from Nerd Immersion, so that means a 10-minute update on what we have about the Rules Expansion gift set. Again, I am still very curious to see what we're going to be getting with these 30 race options. if things continue the way they have and Wizards of the Coast is nice enough to send me books early for review purposes, I will be very excited to do a live stream to talk about what 30 races actually made it in, because that will be probably one of the biggest things that everyone is most excited to see. And then if they get in, did they get updates? Could we see updates to our good friends, the Kobolds, in form of Monsters of the Multiverse, or will the Kobolds forever live as the only race with only a +2 to a given ability score and nothing else? So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Stay tuned to Nerd Immersion for more coverage on this gift set as more time and it gets closer to release. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.